the heart's built
into this. I think I was probably more interested in the format of the song and what it could do as a narrative, as sort of more like being an author. And then gradually throughout the 70s, I moved to a point where by the end of the 70s, I was far more interested in textural sound and just the work that I did with Eno, the last 3 albums and the Scary Monsters, and just before that with Station to Station. That whole period was more about sound than it was about structure of songs. And then I went back into songs again for the first part of the 80s. And I've just seemed to, I'm just now going back into a texture thing again. So it seems to be a cycle with me. I don't know, maybe when I'm 60, I'll be back into songs again. The idea of the end of this millennium is such a millstone around, psychologically a millstone around our necks. It is, after all, only a Christian celebration. I mean, it's not the end of the millennium for anybody in the Far East. I mean, it doesn't exist this time. It's just a synthetic fence that we've put up ourselves. So I think it should be as easy to demolish it, because it's just a mental move. I think creatively we're in a very strong place now. The way that we've broken up the past into such small fragments, I think we can now recreate anything we wanted to. We can probably recreate God once we've killed him, which is probably what we should do, because I think everything has to move into a new way of thinking. And I think to say for a spiritual, I think there's a strong need for a spiritual life with so many people now. And they're slightly adrift because for them the church really has not the same kind of ties, the same kind of significance in their lives because of the traditional way of thinking about a God form and all that. So I think that we have to eradicate that way of thinking about God as the old man with a beard on a cloud and and the only way to reinvent God and bring him back into our lives is to have a time when there is no God so that he can be recreated. Now, it sounds like a drastic move, but I think most of our future will be like that. It'll be almost annihilating everything we know and then having got a vacuum and recreating for the future.
You look back to all your career since the early 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
There was your song, when we hear your album, it doesn't getting old. So have you got 50 years?
I don't know. Maybe because I don't hold much store by older work. I mean, I don't pay much homage to the past. I'm not terribly interested in making the past a museum. I mean, I think that one fallible part of the culture at the moment is to take chunks of all of our. It seems sometimes that we live our lives so that they can become documentaries or books or slabs of history, and I think it's much better to treat the past as a commodity that can be delved into and broken up and retrieved and reformed, rather than keeping it pristine as kind of archaeological thing. So I don't refer back to the past in quite that way. So I relate everything that I've done more to the present than I do to the past. I don't have periods where I think, I remember that old thing. It's not part of the way I think. No. No, I don't. And I use it. I mean, so much of what we do, for instance, on the Outside album is generated by the musicians themselves. I would say that it's primarily an organic sound, but it is supported by some technological pieces. It's not terribly technological. It's very easy for us to reproduce most of what we did on the album on stage, for instance, just by the musicians themselves, because they're such incredible musicians that I'm working with. I mean, I'm just honored to be working with these guys, because they're just, it's almost my dream band, this band that I'm working with at the moment. They're fantastic.
The secret of your collaboration on the musical set with Rhino, what makes you working with him very often, and what is the alchemy in a way?
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that neither of us like to be in the mainstream. I think we both have interests pretty much outside of the mainstream, but we have different interests. And I think when we put our rather obscure interests together, it produces a really interesting kind of animal. I don't think the work that we do together, either one of us could do separately. It really is something that happens when the two of us work together. And it makes it very exciting for both of us, because neither of us really know what to expect. And we both have an awful lot of ideas all the time. So I think there's a lot of feedback going backwards and forwards all the time. I think the world and the way that we live and the physical manifestation of everything that we do has evolved so fast and so far, and I don't think that spiritually or morally we've evolved at 1 inch in 2,000 years. And I think that we're so behind on that scale that there's an awful lot of work to do to catch up with our machines. We can do extraordinary things with microsurgery, with getting people into space, but we still haven't lost the urge to kill or to be greedy or to separate countries and separate peoples. That it's still exactly the same moral mindset that we had thousands of years ago. It just hasn't evolved at all. And it's dysfunctional to have a technological side of society which is so in ascendancy, and a moral base which is still on a level line, hasn't moved at all. So I guess maybe that's probably one ambition that maybe we all have to develop. I don't know, I can't preach. From a really extraordinary position. We came from a really adventurous, almost self-destructive start, where we decided to go on tour before the album's out, and it was very hardline. It only contained nearly the entire show as the Outside album. I mean, it was an evolving process into now. It's just become a really glorious... This whole tour has been fantastic. I've adored every aspect of it. I developed a really good relationship with Trent Reznor of Nails, and we're doing some collaborative work together at the moment, actually. We're sending tapes backwards and forwards to each other with some exciting project for the future. And I'm working with some really excellent bands. Electrofiction, who are on with us now. It used to be Echo and the Bunnymen, I think. They're a really excellent band, but this new band that opens tonight, Placebo, it's supposed to be a British band, but the lead singer's American, and the other two, I think, come from Scandinavia. But they're very good. A good band. Lots of memories of this tour. Wow. I think tonight's going to be memorable. Last nights always are. And it's a bit sad, you know, because this has been a really enjoyable tour. I couldn't have asked for a better tour. Which really I did, because I've lived in Switzerland, it means going into and out of London, I do a lot, you know, quite often. And my circle of friends in London has just gotten larger and larger, and I know so many great people over there. Writers, painters, some fellow musicians, not that many musicians. Really my close friends in the world of music are very much Eno and say Reeves Gabrels and Carlos. But I guess, you know, one looks for other contexts, and so a lot of my friends are in other professions, and I get a lot of feedback that way from seeing, you know, how they live and what are they doing, what their interests are, you know, and it's sort of, otherwise it becomes too incestuous if it's just music talking music, you know, maybe. And hopefully we will. That's it. That's all I want.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.